I'm here because of another story that emanated from our district, and the child molester's name is Jason Fennis. Jason Fennis is now about 43, 44 years old, but as a young man in his early 20s, he was a track coach at Butler High School. And Mr. Fennis engaged in a sexual relationship with one of his students. Before he could be caught or before it was discovered, Mr. Fennis resigned his employment from the Butler School District and applied for employment in Montville. In the Montville School District hired him, and Mr. Fennis was on a tenure track. He obtained tenure and began teaching first graders. And on several occasions, the Montville School District was informed that Mr. Fennis was engaging in inappropriate behavior with his students, including touching them, kissing them, having them sit on his lap, having them over to his house. His misdeeds were reported to DIFAS at the time, but no conclusion of abuse was made by DIFAS. Montville engaged in its own investigation and found even more disturbing incidents of Mr. Fennis's behavior, and began the process of terminating Mr. Fennis's employment after he had obtained tenure. Before that process could be finished, the Board of Education in Montville and Mr. Fennis reached an agreement by which Mr. Fennis would resign, and that Montville would not share any of the details of the circumstances around his resignation with any future employer. Mr. Fennis was allowed to resign and given a neutral reference, in essence. When Mr. Fennis applied to the Cedar Hill Preparatory School, I think that might be in Senator Smith's district, the school only checked the dates of employment and the fact of Mr. Fennis's employment with Montville. This was in 2010. In the fall of 2010, Mr. Fennis had allegations made against him by parents at the Cedar Hill Preparatory School of inappropriate conduct with his first grade students. And by February of 2012, Mr. Fennis had been arrested for molesting children at Cedar Hill Prep. Mr. Fennis has pleaded guilty to molesting at least 6 children in the 3 school districts in which he worked, or the 3 schools for which he worked, and he's serving at least 14 years in state prison now. We have a problem in New Jersey. It's a problem nationwide, and that is that the system that we have set up for employing teachers in this state encourages the practice of child molesters stopping the process of their disciplinary hearings before they can be found guilty, before charges against them can be substantiated. And in the process of resigning, getting their school district to provide them a neutral reference and moving on to the next school district who would be totally unaware of that molester's activities at the previous or with the previous employer. And so to address this problem, several other states have implemented laws like the kind that you're considering today, which forces the information to be shared with future employers. It forces applicants for jobs in school districts and with private schools to disclose whether they've been the subject of any investigations into sexual misconduct or child abuse. And it forces the former employers to disclose whether there were any pending charges or substantiated charges of sexual misconduct or child abuse. It requires the hiring district to investigate any affirmative responses that an applicant might give, so that school districts who hire teachers are required to check the background of the applicants beyond just a criminal background check, but also looking into these allegations that might be pending against child molesters or teachers who want to move from district to district. I think that kind of sunshine is desperately needed and would have prevented the abuse that several of the children in our district and in Somerset County suffered. And so I want to thank you again, Madam Chairwoman, for posting the bill. Hopefully we can get your support on it. I want to thank OLS, too. Anita was incredibly helpful in helping to put this together. Our bill is modeled very much on the Pennsylvania statute. The statute and law in Pennsylvania was adopted unanimously by the Pennsylvania legislature. A similar law was adopted unanimously by the Connecticut legislature, and the states of Washington, Oregon, Nevada, and Missouri have similar bills. Hopefully New Jersey will join those states in stopping this terrible practice that jeopardizes our children.